Hello everyone and welcome back to Gwimb Discusses 40k Things. So, I was reading Ferris Magnus' Primarch book the other day, and I was reading how he was bad-mouthing Gilman to Fulgrim, and I was thinking, for being brothers and supposedly, having this unique bond between each other as the Primarchs, they really didn't get along with each other very well, did they? So that got me thinking. I thought I might discuss, in a two-part little venture, this week and next week, which Primarchs were friends with who, and which Primarchs really didn't like each other very much. Isn't that the same with all families? There's always a favourite sibling. Oh well. So anyway, just to clarify this to start off with, I'd like to say that some of the Primarchs' lore on who they like and dislike amongst their brothers isn't well established, for say like the Lion or Elfarius. So a lot of it will be a little bit scanty, but we're just going to go off what we know on the top of our head, and based out of the Black Library novels, the Horace Heresy rulebooks, and the Primarch novels. So we'll start at the beginning. Lionel Johnson, Lord of the First Legion. Now, what's interesting about the Lion is it isn't too much established who he likes. Now, it's established very well who he's had altercations with over the years. So, Russ, Horace, got into an argument with Dawn, a little bit of a... we all know about the little bit of a spat he had with Gilman over Imperium Secundus. So, it's not hugely well established who the Lion actually likes out of his brothers, aside from Perturbo in the Angels of Caliban novel, and in the old rulebooks it was established that the Lion got on well with Khan, so we have Perturbo and Khan as the only possible ones at the moment. Although it's quite interesting, if you read Ruinstorm, the Lion actually says to himself that he really does love and respect Sanguinius. It's not sure if it's reciprocated, but for the Lion to actually admit that to himself is pretty high favour. So, on paper we're going to go with Perturbo and the Khan as friends, with Sanguinius as potential friend. So, old Lion really seemed to keep to himself, didn't he? And the second Primarch? Fuck knows. Right, moving on to Fulgrim. Now, everyone knows Fulgrim's bromance with Ferris. Of course, that traditional bromance that ended when the old Fulgrim got a bit too much into cocaine and meth. So, there's Ferris. There's Horace as good friends. It's established he liked and respected Sanguinius quite well. They both had a good similarity for art and, culture. But it's never really established that it manifested as a full friendship. And also remember, Conrad Kurz, Fulgrim mentored Conrad Kurz. So for Fulgrim it seems that he liked Ferris, Horace and Kurz. So that's not too bad at all. Now, Perturbo, the fourth Primarch. Again, a Primarch who didn't really seem to have many friends. It's actually very well done in Magnus the Red's Primarch novel, his friendship with Magnus. So Perturbo and Magnus got on rather well. They both shared a like for discovery, for philosophy, for archaeology, so they got on well there. They seemed to disagree over the matters of the warp, but they still had a decent friendship regardless. It's also not clear if the Lion's like for Perturbo was reciprocated, and it is also well established that Perturbo liked Horace. I mean, he had a great deal of respect for Horace, even if Perturbo did think himself better than him, but Perturbo has a very odd inferiority complex. But that doesn't matter. So, we're going to pencil in Horace and Magnus for old Perty. Now, the Khan. Good old Jagatai Khan. Now, Jagatai Khan's Primarch novel really goes well into establishing, who the Khan actually liked. And the Khan, as we all know, he liked Horace, he liked Magnus, and he liked Sanguinius. Now, some people have gone like, well, he didn't really, like Sanguinius that much. Well, if you read that Primarch novel and a few of his other novels, you will see that Jagatai Khan actually had a real deep like and respect for Sanguinius. Sanguinius was the first of his brothers he ever actually met, and if you read on to the Siege of Terror books, he actually Khan refers to Sanguinius as my dear friend. So, I'm penciling that in as a friendship. So, Magnus, Horace, and Sanguinius. Honestly, pretty good friends. I'd be happy to have them as friends myself. Now, Russ. Leman Russ, the Wolf King. Again, this is another one that isn't very well established. There's a lot of sort of hints, but there's never really much anything clear. For example, in talks with Malkador, Russ brings up the point that he's getting a bit tired of Dawn's bullshit. And Malkador says, well, really, I thought you liked Dawn. And Russ goes, I do. And then, carries on to say why Dawn's behaviour is annoying him. So, it seems to be he liked Dawn. He described Gilman as boring, and there's not really huge amounts about it. Although, if you read Corax's Primarch novels, apparently, and if you read the rulebooks for the Horace Heresy tabletop, you will see that the Raven Guard and the Space Wolves got on very well, and it is established that Corax and Russ seem to get on quite well. So, on paper at least, you can probably add Dawn and Corax to that list. It's also, again, Russ seemed to have exhibited a lot of respect for Sanguinius, but it's never confirmed if that's an actual friendship. But then a lot of people liked and respected Sanguinius in the end, didn't they? So for Russ, not too much known about it. We're just going to pencil in Dawn and Corax. I think that's everything for him off the top of my head. Alright, moving along. Geez, 7 out of 20. So, Rogueldorn, Praetorian of Terror. Now, Dawn had a few friends, but he didn't have very many friends. His attitude kind of turned a few people off that would have otherwise been friends with him, like Perturbo or the Lion or things like that. But it is well established that Horace seemed to like Dawn. Sanguinius definitely liked Dawn, and Gilman liked Dawn. I mean, he's one of the dauntless few that Gilman said he could always count on. So, you've got Horace, you have Sanguinius, you have Gilman on that list as well. They seem to have respected each other, but there wasn't really any friendship between Corax and Dawn. So, yeah, I think definitely penciling it in, you would go Horace, Gilman, and Sanguinius for Rogueldorn. Again, Dawn didn't really... He seemed to annoy his brothers more than he seemed to endear himself to his brothers, but that's alright. I mean, even the Khan got slightly annoyed with Dawn towards the end of the siege. But there you go. Now, Captain Psychopath, also known as Conrad Kurz of the 8th Legion. Kurz didn't really like anyone or anything, even himself. I mean, yeah, multiple personality disorder's a bitch. It is established that he got on well with Fulgrim because Fulgrim was Kurz's mentor in matters of the Great Crusade and, the Imperium. So, he got on well with Fulgrim, enough to confide in him of his nightmares. And he seemed to like Horace well enough. Like him enough to join him, but I think that was more getting away from the Imperium than actually joining Horace. So, really, the only major friend that Kurz had was really Fulgrim. Which was interesting because the Lion said that, deep down he kind of respected Kurz. And even Sanguinius kind of said he pitied Kurz. So, I think if Kurz wasn't a complete psychopath and didn't have the multiple personality disorders, he'd probably have made a few more friends. Oh well. Now, the Angel. Sanguinius, Primarch of the 9th Legion. Sanguinius was one of those ones like Horace where, aside from a few outliers like Perturbo, Angron, things like that, they all seem to really like him. Sanguinius earns his reputation as a bloody good guy and a great Primarch. Now, out of his closest friends, well, I think Horace is definitely the best on the list. I mean, Horace even describes Sanguinius as his conscience, if you read the earlier Horace Heresy novels. And Sanguinius and Horace really got on well. Alongside that, I would think Magnus and Sanguinius got on well. Khan and Sanguinius got on well. Gilman and Dawn, definitely. I mean, Dawn, during the Saturnine and the Siege of Terror book, just speaks Sanguinius' praises. So, really, Sanguinius was kind of one of those things of friends with everyone, but if you were to put, maybe say top 3 friends on that list, I would probably call it Horace, Dorn, and the Khan, I would say, in terms of getting along well. But again, I think Sanguinius was just one of those guys who could get on with everyone. Unlike the next Primarch, old Ferris Magnus of the 10th. Now, Ferris had his bromance with Fulgrim, and everyone knows that. I mean, it's carved in stone, basically. But Ferris, again, didn't really seem to get on too well with anyone else. He really disliked Dawn, but we'll save that for the dislike video. So, in terms of people that Ferris actually liked, it's only really established as Fulgrim and Vulcan. That's it, really. It's interesting. A lot of other Primarchs respected and liked Ferris, but Ferris didn't like very many of them in return. Oh well. I mean, I wonder how many friends he'll make with his head removed. Probably not as many. That was slightly tasteless, but endure it. Alright, 11th Primarch doesn't exist, who cares? Now, Angron. Angron, again, another example of didn't like anyone. He respected Horace as a commander. He says himself, he respects Horace as a commander and a leader, but doesn't like him, and thinks he's a fucking arrogant prick. So the only really one of his brothers that he actually liked towards the end was Orga. And isn't that odd? If you read Betrayer, and if you listen to the audiobook Butcher's Nails, it actually goes into establishing how Angron and Orga sort of became as close as you can get to friends with Angron. So, yeah, Angron, only real friend in the end was Orga before he became a demon prince. Kinda sad, but oh well, at least he had a friend at the end. It's more than I've got. Alright. 13th Legion, 13th Primarch, Rabute Gilman, Lord Commander of the Imperium. Oh wait, that's later. Anyway, old Big G, he had his Dauntless Few, a list of 4 people that, he always could trust on. I think it was, if he had those Primarchs and their legions with him, then he could conquer any foe. And it was established to be Sanguinius, Dawn, Ferris, and Horace. Now, Horace got removed off the list when the heresy broke out, but Gilman did have those 4 friends, and he actually did have a few more friends aside from that. Like, he respected the Khan and Russ, but he didn't get on too well with them. And him and Corax got on quite well. So, I think for friends for Horace, you'd put the Dauntless Few, so those 4, and Corax on the list. Again, some Primarchs like Angron, Perturbo, didn't really like Gilman that much, but Gilman seemed to, get on with as many people as he could, sort of thing. So, there you go. Average guy has average circle of friends. Alright, the 14th Legion, the Death Guard. Again, Mortarion's one of those ones that goes out of his way to alienate people. His only real friends is Horace. I mean, yeah, he didn't really get on with anybody. I think I read somewhere that him and Kurz seemed to get on quite well. But I think that was old lore, so I can't really ascertain the legitimacy of that nowadays. So really it was just Horace. It was quite interesting because, yeah, Mortarion alienated all of his Psyker brothers, or anyone that supported the Librarius, and his attitude kind of sort of drove other people like Dawn and Perturbo away from him. So really in the end, the only friends that Morty had was Horace in the end. Yeah. Oh well. At least he has Grandfather Nurgle giving him hugs now. So, good on him. Alright. 15th Legion, nearly there. Magnus the Red. Magnus was a jolly old guy, and he had some pretty decent friends. He had more enemies than friends, but he still had some people that liked him. He had Sanguinius, he had Perturbo, and he had the Khan. So, honestly, that's not bad at all. And he had Orga, although that wasn't like a close friendship like his one with the others. But he had Orga as well. So, 4 friends for him. That's not too bad. Alright, now Horace. Horace of Cathonia. Horace Lupercal, the 16th Primarch. First found. He was friends with basically everybody except Corax. Now his best friends, again that's interesting and hard to actually say because he was friends with so many of them. However, I definitely think that on that list it's Sanguinius. I would say Sanguinius, Fulgrim, and again it's hard to really say what of his go-to brothers. Probably Mortarion as well in an odd way, because especially when the heresy was rolling around, the old Horace seemed to rely on Mortarion a lot more than he did a lot of his other brothers. But he was definitely very good friends with Sanguinius, who I said earlier he's described as his conscience, and he's definitely very good friends with Fulgrim. They got on very well. I mean, Fulgrim basically campaigned under Horace until the Emperor's children were up to decent strength again. So, yeah, Horace friends with everyone, basically. Alright, 17th Legion Primarch. Poor old Orga, who fucked everything up because he was an insecure douche. Orga had some friends. I mean, he had a lot of people that respected him and sort of liked him but weren't friends with him. Like, Russ sort of, said he liked him. He stood up for him when they were talking about censoring him after his old religious thing came out. So Russ quite liked him. Sanguinius seemed to respect him. But in terms of actual friends, it was only really Magnus that Orga was really friends with. Orga is kind of stuck to himself and kept out of the way. And I mean, he also had a habit of pissing off his brothers unintentionally. Like Ferris, I mean, yeah, that stupid comment he said out loud kind of pissed Ferris off and killed any chance of friendship there. And Orga just seemed to have a habit of alienating his brothers similar to the other ones. So, in the end, it only really seemed to be Magnus and Angron towards the end of the heresy. Yeah, interesting friends indeed. Oh well, maybe sit in the Eye of Terror for another 10,000 years and you'll make another friend. Maybe the demons will want to be your friend, Orga, you twat. Alright, nearly bloody there. 18th Legion, Vulcan, the huggableness of all Primarchs. Old Vulcan boy, he had a few friends. He had people that definitely liked him. Ferris and Vulcan seemed to get on well. Corax and Vulcan seemed to get on well, although never really established on the other end if Corax liked Vulcan as much as Vulcan liked Corax, but there you go. So he had Ferris, he had Corax. He was also kind of the Primarch that just tried to get along with everyone, sort of thing, I mean, we all know the TTS memes. Vulcan was a decent guy and tried to be nice to everyone he could. So I'd say of friends, probably he had Ferris, he had Corax, and he had Dawn. So that's not bad for the old salamander boy. So yeah. Now, second to last, the Raven Guard, Corvus Corax. Now Corax, again, it was interesting. For the type of guy you'd expect to have no friends and be emo loser, he actually had more than you think. He respected Dawn, but they never truly got on. But he actually was very good friends with Gilman. For example, he actually looked up to Gilman, and if you read or listen to Corax's Primarch novel, it actually goes into the friendship between the two at the start of that novel, and it's actually really nice. And I think it would have been a very good friendship before Core heresy happened and Corax went super emo on everyone. But Corax got on well with Gilman. He also got on well with Ferris and Vulcan, so that's pretty nice as well. He respected Dorn, but wasn't really friends, and he got on very well with Russ. Isn't too much establishing this from Russ's end, but if you read the Raven Guard Omnibus for the Heresy, and you read the last novel, it actually goes into a bit of why Corax liked Russ so much. And also, if you read the rulebooks, it also establishes the friendship between the Raven Guard and the Space Wolves a bit more. So, yeah, basically his two best friends were Russ and Gilman. Not bad for what you'd expect to be an emo loner. Now, the actual loner of the group. Fucking Elfarius. Now, I'm almost really fucking annoyed that he's just become a giant meme, because there's nothing you can find on him. I mean, who the fuck knows who he likes? And then you add Omegon. You add the other one to the bloody list, and it makes shit worse. So, really, I don't know. It's all a meme. Horace, because everyone was friends with Horace. But, fucked if I know. We're just going to chalk that up to a meme. So there we go. That's a basic, very super basic drawdown of who was friends with who. And hopefully next week we will cover who didn't like who. Spoiler alert, it was everyone and everyone. Alright then, that's all from me. Jeez, this friggin' thing's gone on for 22 minutes. Oh well, catch you all later lads. Bye. Meme.